I need to tell you something before I start, and I need you to actually listen. If you're ever at a bus station late at night, I mean really late, past 11, and the driver won't look at you, and the conductor won't give you a ticket, don't get on. I don't care how tired you are. I don't care if it's the last one of the night. I don't care if you'll be stuck sleeping on a bench until morning. Wait for the morning. I didn't. And there's a version of me that's still out there, right now, somewhere on a stretch of highway that isn't on any map, sitting behind a wheel he never wanted to touch. This happened to me 2 years ago. I still don't sleep right. I still check the clock on my phone more times a night than I'd like to admit, because if it ever freezes on 11:55, I'll know. Let me back up. It was a Tuesday night, late October, and I was standing in the Ashford Greyhound station just outside Columbus, Ohio. I remember the light in there, that sick, flickering yellow that makes everyone look a little sick, a little too thin. There was a coffee cart near the entrance, one of those little carts that shouldn't even have been open that late, steam curling up off it into the cold air. A handful of other people were scattered around on the benches, all of us doing that thing you do at 11 p.m. in a bus station, staring at nothing, too tired to talk. I was 28. I worked in software, up in Columbus, and I was heading back down to see my folks in a little town called Millbrook, about 3 hours south. I had a duffel bag on my shoulder and I hadn't slept right in about 4 days. Then the intercom clicked on. That static pop right before an announcement. You know the sound. It always makes the hair on your arms stand up a little, even when it's nothing. Final departure to Millbrook, now boarding, gate 3. A couple of people around me stood up fast. I asked the guy at the coffee cart if that was really the last one. Yep, he said, not even looking up from the register. Miss it, you're here till 6 a.m. I remember he said it so flat, like he'd said it 1,000 times, like it didn't matter to him either way. I told myself I was being paranoid for even hesitating, grabbed my bag, and walked to gate 3. The bus was already there. And here's the first thing, the first small thing that should have told me to turn around. It was old. Not vintage old, not charming old. Old like something that had been sitting in a lot behind a maintenance garage for 15 years and somebody dragged it back out. The red paint was chipped down to primer in long streaks along the side, like something had clawed at it. The windows had this filmy, yellowish tint, like they hadn't been washed since the bus was built. The driver was already in his seat. Middle-aged guy, gray uniform, hands on the wheel even though we weren't moving yet. He didn't turn around. He didn't blink, as far as I could tell. He just sat there, facing forward, like he was waiting for something that had nothing to do with passengers. The conductor stood by the door, waving people up. Let's go, let's go. Millbrook route, last call. I climbed on. There were maybe 8 or 9 people already seated. An older guy, a farmer type, weathered face, way in the back. 2 college kids a few rows up, scrolling their phones. A quiet man off to the side in a black button-down, just staring out the window. And near the front, a woman with a little boy, maybe 6 years old, curled up against her. I took a seat in the middle, dropped my bag between my feet, and the bus pulled out. For the first few minutes, everything was completely normal. That's the part that gets me now, looking back. How normal it felt. The hum of the engine, the streetlights sliding past the window in long yellow smears. I actually started to relax. Then I noticed the conductor hadn't given anyone a ticket. He was just standing in the aisle, not swaying with the movement of the bus, just standing there, perfectly still, looking at each of us, one at a time, like he was taking inventory. Hey, ticket? I asked him. He turned his head toward me, smiled, didn't say a word. That's a strange thing to sit with for a few seconds. A man smiling at you and saying nothing. It's the kind of thing your brain tries to explain away. Maybe he's mute. Maybe he's just tired. Maybe he does this every night. But some older, quieter part of you already knows something is wrong. The man in the black shirt beside me leaned in slightly. His voice was low. "First time on this route?" "Yeah," I said. He almost smiled. "Then listen to me. Don't ask too many questions on this bus." I laughed it off. Nervous laugh, the kind you do when you don't know what else to do with your face. He didn't laugh with me. We left the city, and the streetlights thinned out, and then they stopped altogether. It was just us and the headlights and a wall of black on either side of the road. I looked out the window and, "I want you to understand, I've driven that route to Millbrook a dozen times. I didn't recognize the road. Not the trees, not the curve of it, nothing." "This still goes to Millbrook, right?" I asked, to nobody in particular. The old farmer answered without turning his head. "It goes there," he said, "just not for everybody." I remember that sentence sitting in my chest like a stone. I pulled out my phone to check the map. No signal, not one bar. Up front, the little boy tugged on his mother's sleeve. I heard him clearly in the quiet of the bus. "Mom, that man got back on." "What man? Baby?" "The one who was standing outside before." I turned and looked out the window on instinct. There was nothing out there but black. No man, no shoulder of the road, nothing you could stand on even if you wanted to. And then the bus slammed to a stop, hard enough that I nearly hit the seat in front of me. "What happened?" I said. The driver didn't answer. He never answered anything. The conductor's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Somebody got on." I turned around in my seat. There was a man standing in the aisle at the back of the bus. Nobody had opened a door. Nobody had seen him get on. He was just there, walking slowly up the aisle, and his face was wrong somehow. Not deformed, just unlit. Like the shadows on him didn't match the shadows on anything else. He got close enough that I could hear him. Barely a whisper. "It's starting." I want to describe what happened next as carefully as I can. Because I've replayed it so many times, I'm not sure anymore which parts I actually saw and which parts my mind has sharpened with fear. But I'll try. The bus started moving again, faster now, and the temperature dropped. Dropped. I could see my breath. Sweat was running down my back at the same time my hands were going numb from the cold, and that contradiction alone should tell you how wrong the air in that bus had become. The new man kept drifting up the aisle toward me. His feet were moving. There was no sound at all. Not a footstep, not a creak in the floor. Where the hell did he come from? I asked the conductor, and I could hear my own voice shaking. The conductor smiled, that same slow smile. "This bus doesn't pick people up," he said. "It only receives them." The man in the black shirt spoke again, quieter now, almost gentle. "You think he just got on? He didn't. He's been here the whole time. This bus is stuck in a moment. It has been for a while." I looked down at my phone. 11:55 p.m. It hadn't moved. Not a single minute. The whole ride. "This bus leaves every night," the old farmer said. "It just never arrives anywhere." "What does that mean?" I asked, and I already hated the answer before he gave it to me. "It means the ones who catch this bus don't make it home." The little boy spoke again, and this time his voice made my skin crawl in a way I can't fully explain. "Mom, he's sitting next to me now." I looked. The seat beside him was empty, but it was sinking, slowly, gradually, the cushion compressing under a weight that wasn't there. Then the lights above us started to flicker. On, off, on, off. And in one of those flashes, maybe half a second, less, I saw the bus the way it actually was. The old farmer's face had gone gray and sunken, like something that had been underwater for a long time. The little boy's eyes were fully black, no white left in them at all. And the driver had a wound across his throat, deep, dark, the kind of wound nobody survives. Then the lights steadied, and everyone looked normal again, human again, like nothing had happened. I screamed. I'm not ashamed to say that. I screamed and asked what the hell was going on, who they all were. The conductor leaned in close. His breath smelled like the inside of a closed car that's been sitting for years. "We're all passengers here," he said. "We just already finished our trip." He pressed something into my hand. I looked down. It was a ticket. Final journey. Way only. "I'm alive," I said. My voice cracked on the word. "I'm not dead." The man in the black shirt looked at me with something that almost resembled sympathy. "I said the same thing," he said quietly. 2 years ago. The bus lurched to a stop on a stretch of road with absolutely nothing around it. No town, no lights in the distance, no sound at all, not wind, not insects, nothing. Like the whole world outside those windows had simply been switched off. "Whoever's number has come up," the conductor called out, "gets off here." "Whose number?" I asked, and I already knew before anyone answered, because every single person on that bus had turned to look at me. The old farmer smiled. "Tonight, it's yours." I stood up and started backing away. "No, I'm not getting off." That's when I felt the hand on my shoulder. The new man, the one who'd appeared out of nowhere, was standing right behind me. His hand was cold in a way that went past temperature. It was the kind of cold you feel in a hospital hallway or standing too close to an open casket. "You have to get off," he said softly. I screamed at him to get away from me. And that's when it hit me, all at once, like a wave breaking over my head. A memory. No, more than a memory. It played behind my eyes like I was living it again. A dark highway. Rain hammering the windshield. Headlights of a semi-truck crossing the center line straight toward us. The sound metal makes when it folds in on itself. I've never heard anything like it before or since, and I hope to God I never do again. "Remember," the old farmer said, gently now. "You've been here before. This is your second time." "Second time," I repeated, because my mouth was moving faster than my brain could keep up. The man in the black shirt nodded slowly. "The first time you got on this bus, you weren't a passenger. You were part of the crash." And then I remembered. 2 nights before all of this, I'd taken a late bus home from Columbus. There'd been an accident up in the hills on the interstate. I remembered flashing lights. I remembered being pulled from wreckage, or thinking I was. I looked out the window, and this time there was something there. The crash site. My crash site. An overturned bus, glass scattered across wet asphalt. Catching what little light there was like 1,000 tiny broken stars. And bodies. Still. Unmoving. One of them was mine. "Time's up," the conductor said. "Get off." "I'm not ready," I said, backing further into my seat, gripping the armrest so hard my knuckles went white. "I still want to live." The little boy looked at me with those black, bottomless eyes. "Mister, if you don't get off now, you'll be stuck here forever." "Then why didn't you get off?" I asked him, and I hated myself for asking a child that question, but I was drowning in grabbing at anything. I was scared, he said, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. The man in the black shirt spoke next. I refused to get off too, and now I'm here permanently. I stared at that door. Outside, it was just black. But somewhere in that black, there was a thin, strange outline. A shape I couldn't quite make sense of. I took one step toward it. The doors slammed shut on their own before I got there. The driver's foot came down on the gas. The bus surged forward again, and I screamed for them to stop, that I'd wanted to get off, that they'd taken my only chance. The conductor just laughed. You only get the offer once. Every single passenger turned to look at me at the same time, slowly, and every single one of them was smiling now. That same wrong, patient smile. Now, the man in the black shirt whispered, "You're one of us." I looked down at the ticket still in my hand. The words had changed. Permanent passenger. The bus kept moving, faster than any bus should be able to move, and the road outside stopped looking like a road at all. No trees, no mile markers, no other headlights in the distance, just an endless, featureless dark that seemed to swallow the headlights whole before they even reached 10 feet out. Where is this thing even going? I asked, and my own voice sounded like a stranger's. Where the roads end, the conductor said. And after that, I demanded to know what permanent passenger meant, half hoping the answer would be something I could survive. It means you can never get off, the man in black said. Ever. There has to be a way out, I said. There's always a way out. The old farmer chuckled, a dry, papery sound like leaves scraping across pavement. There's exactly one way. What? Give your seat to someone else. I remember going very still. What does that mean? The conductor's eyes had a strange gleam to them now, something hungry. This bus keeps its balance, he said. For every permanent passenger, there has to be a new one to take their place. So I have to get somebody else killed to save myself, I said, and something in my chest went cold and sick. I won't do that. They all say that, the man in black murmured. At first, the bus began to slow, and when it stopped, I recognized exactly where we were, and it made my stomach drop through the floor. Ashford Depot, the exact place I'd started. The intercom crackled to life one more time. Final departure to Millbrook, now boarding Gate 3. Out on the platform, under that same sick yellow light, there was a young man, duffel bag over his shoulder, checking his phone, rushing to make the last bus. He looked so much like me an hour earlier that it physically hurt to look at him. This is your chance, the conductor whispered. The kid climbed aboard, dropped into a seat, and grinned at nobody in particular. First time on this route, man. I stood up. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. I walked toward him, and every single passenger on that bus was watching me now, waiting, that hungry patience on all their faces. I put my hand on his shoulder, and I told him the truth. Listen to me, I said, loud enough that my voice cracked down the middle. This bus isn't right. Don't sit down. Get off. Get off right now. He blinked at me, startled. What? This bus is full of dead people, I said. Go. Now. The silence that followed was worse than any scream. The conductor's face changed, not into anything I can properly describe, just wrong, all at once, in a way that made my brain refuse to hold on to the image afterward. You broke the rule, he said. Every passenger rose to their feet at the same time. Their faces began to shift, sag, split at the edges like something underneath was pushing its way out. "Now," the conductor said, "you'll be punished." I asked what kind of punishment, even though some part of me already knew I didn't want the answer. "You won't just ride anymore," he said. "You'll drive." The driver stood up from his seat for the first time since I'd boarded. His face was fully rotted now, hanging in strips, and he walked toward me without a single trace of hesitation. "Take my seat," he said. I screamed, "No." But my legs carried me forward anyway, past all of them, and I sat down in the driver's seat, and my hands closed around the wheel without my permission. The conductor's voice boomed through the bus. "Drive to the next one." I sat behind that wheel with my hands locked around it, and I want you to understand, I wasn't driving. The bus drove itself. It shifted gears on its own. It braked on its own. It took turns I never chose. It was alive in a way that no machine should ever be. "What is this?" I screamed. "I'm not doing anything! Nobody's driving this thing!" "Then who's driving?" the conductor asked, almost amused. "Nobody," I said. "It drives itself. Then why do we need a driver at all?" I didn't have an answer. He gave me one instead, just to wear the face. I looked up into the rearview mirror, and I watched my own reflection change in real time. My eyes sinking deeper into my skull, my skin turning the color of old paper. I was becoming exactly what I'd seen in that flash of light hours before, except now there was no flicker to bring it back to normal. The man in the black shirt spoke, almost gently. "Whoever breaks the rules becomes part of it, forever." The whole cabin began to rot around me. The seats split open. Rust bloomed across the metal like a disease. Dark stains spread slowly across the windows, and I understood, somewhere underneath the panic, that I was finally seeing the bus exactly as it truly was. "Is any of this real?" I asked. "This is the only real thing," the conductor said. "Everything before it was the mercy." The old farmer stepped closer. "This bus was never a vehicle," he said. "It's a door." "A door to what?" "Between the living and the dead." And then I asked the question I probably shouldn't have asked. Who started this? Who made this bus? Nobody answered right away. The silence stretched out long enough that I started to think maybe there wasn't an answer. Then the conductor leaned in, his face swallowed almost entirely by shadow now, and said two words that I still hear some nights, right before I fall asleep. "You did." And the memory came back whole. 2 nights before the bus, before any of this, I'd been standing behind the driver on that highway ride home, leaning forward to ask him something. Just a question. Just a small distraction. Half a second. Nothing that should have mattered. The wheel jerked. The bus lost the road. "You caused it," the conductor said, "and whoever opens the door becomes its keeper, forever." The bus surged forward one more time, and the Ashford Depot rose up out of the darkness ahead of us, exactly as it had the first time. The intercom crackled. "Final departure to Millbrook, now boarding Gate 3. There was a man standing on the platform, phone pressed to his ear, rushing, in a hurry the way I'd been in a hurry, the way that kid had been in a hurry. Tears were running down my ruined face, and I mouthed the words even though I knew he couldn't hear me through the glass. "Don't come, please. Don't come." The doors hissed open on their own. "New passenger," the conductor bellowed. "Welcome aboard." The man climbed the steps, glanced toward the front of the bus, toward me. "Hey, man, this go to Millbrook?" My mouth moved without my permission. "Yes," I heard myself say. "It goes there." The conductor smiled wide, and somewhere behind me, I heard the rest of them settle back into their seats, patient, satisfied, the way you settle in for a long ride you've made 100 times before. "Let the ride begin again," he said, and the bus pulled forward into the dark, and I have been driving it ever since. I don't know how I'm telling you this. I don't know what I am now, exactly, or whether telling is even the right word for whatever this is. Maybe you're reading this on your phone in a bus station somewhere, late at night, waiting on a last connection home. If you are, look up, check the driver's seat, and if the man behind the wheel won't turn around, if the conductor won't hand you a ticket, if somebody leans in next to you and tells you not to ask too many questions, get off, however you can, whatever it costs you. Because some of us didn't, and some of us are still out there right now, somewhere past the edge of the map, driving toward a town that was never there to begin with, carrying a full bus, forever one seat short.
Spent 6 years overseas. 6 years of dust, gunfire, and letters that took 3 weeks to reach home. When my unit finally cut me loose for a 2-month leave, all I could think about was my wife's face and my son's voice, a voice I'd only ever heard over a crackling phone line. I never made it home. And the worst part, for a long time, I didn't even know that. I want you to remember that as I tell you this, because somewhere in this story, I stopped being a man walking home to his family, and I don't want you to notice exactly when. The bus dropped me off at a gas station on Route 9, just outside a town called Millhaven, one of those blink and you miss it places tucked into the Ohio farmland, surrounded by nothing but corn and silence. My hometown, Ashford Hollow, was still a few miles out, past the tree line. Down an old county road, the buses didn't run anymore. It was late, 10, maybe 11 at night. The kind of dark that isn't just an absence of light, but a presence of its own, thick, pressing in from every direction. Cicadas screamed in the ditches on either side of the road, and the cold had that late October bite to it, the kind that gets into your knuckles. There was a massive dead oak at the fork in the road, its bare branches clawing at the sky, rattling every time the wind picked up. And beside it, again, a little roadside shack, the kind that sells cigarettes and motor oil and not much else. A lantern burned inside, throwing a sick yellow glow across the dirt. I could see someone moving around in there. I shouldered my duffel bag and walked over. An old man was hunched behind the counter, wrapped in a ratty flannel, a scarf wound tight around his ears against the cold. And still he was shivering. He was so absorbed in whatever he was doing that he didn't notice me until I was standing right in front of him. I asked if there was any way to get a ride into Ashford Hollow. He looked up, looked me over, slow, head to boots. "You're not from around here," he said. His voice was dry, cracked, like something that hadn't been used in a while. "Been gone a long time," I told him. "Trying to get home. It's pretty late, I know." "Which town?" "Ashford Hollow." He nodded slowly. "That's close, but it's late, son. Awful late. Won't find anybody driving out this way tonight. And that road..." He stepped out from behind the counter, closer than I expected. "That road ain't right after dark." "Ain't right how?" "Folks say that road plays tricks on people, some kind of haunting." I laughed. I actually laughed, standing there in the freezing dark, because after 6 years of watching men die from things you could at least explain, bullets, shrapnel, bad luck, the idea of a haunted county road sounded almost sweet, almost comforting. "With all due respect," I said, I've seen the real world. There's no such thing as people have walked that road before you. The old man cut in, and something in his voice made the laugh die in my throat. Not many of them made it to the other side. I didn't wait to hear more. I hitched my bag up and started walking. Behind me, I heard him shouting, really shouting, like his life depended on it, begging me not to go that way. I didn't look back. The road swallowed the light almost immediately. Cornfields stretched out on either side, tall stalks leaning in like they were listening. The cicadas got louder. The wind picked up, cold enough to numb my face, and above me, no moon. Just a flat, black nothing where the sky should have been. After a while, I saw lights, small, flickering, maybe half a mile ahead. Porch lights, I figured, the edge of Ashford Hollow. See, I told myself. Old man was full of it. I kept walking and walking. The lights stayed exactly the same distance away, no matter how far I went. Like I was walking on a treadmill someone had dressed up as a road. I told myself the path was just winding, playing tricks with the perspective. Then the lights vanished, all at once, like someone had reached out and switched them off. My stomach dropped. I stopped walking, turned in a slow circle. Corn on every side, black sky above, and the awful realization that I had absolutely no idea how long I'd been walking, or how far. My throat had gone bone dry. I dug my water bottle out of my bag and took a couple of swallows. You're new around here, aren't you? I don't think I've ever moved that fast in my life. I spun around, and a bottle flew out of my hand into the dark. A man stood a few feet away, sun-beaten skin, a stained white undershirt, work pants caked in mud, and a wooden walking stick in one hand. 30-something, maybe. He'd come out of the corn without a single sound. Who are you? My voice cracked on the words. Easy, easy. He held up a hand. Name's Cole. I work this land, live just down that way. Saw you out here alone and figured I'd come check. His voice was calm, almost kind. And after a few seconds, my heartbeat started to slow. I told him I was headed to Ashford Hollow, that I'd figured I'd just walk it since it was supposedly close. That's all fine, he said, but you don't want to be on this road after dark. Trust me. There it was again, the same warning. My skin prickled. Why? I said. Is it haunted? Is that what people keep telling me? Cole's eyebrows went up. How'd you know that? Met an old man back at a shack near the fork. Said the same thing. What shack? The one with the lantern, right by the big oak tree. Cole went very still. Sir, there's no shack out there. Hasn't been one for years. I felt something cold slide down the back. Then who did I just talk to? This road's haunted, mister. Something out here gets a hold of anybody who walks it at night. He glanced at the corn, then back at me, and for a second I could have sworn there was pity in his eyes. It's late. Just come stay at my place. Head out again come morning. I said yes, before I even finished thinking about it. Fear does that, makes decisions for you. He led me down a narrow footpath cut into grass taller than my head. A small farmhouse appeared out of the dark, mud-walled, a single window glowing dull yellow. Corn pressed in on every side of it. The wind gusted again, colder this time, and every hair on my arm stood up. Like my body knew something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. Inside, a woman crouched at a wood stove, cooking flatbread over the coals. A crib sat a few feet away, rocking gently. She'd reach over now and then to nudge it without even looking. She turned when we walked in, smiled at me. It was the wrong kind of smile. Too wide, too still. I didn't say anything about it. "This is my wife," Cole said. "Ruth." "Evening, ma'am." "Ruth, fix the man a plate, would you? He's come a long way." She served me beans and warm flatbread on a tin plate, a cup of water. I hadn't realized how hungry I was until I started eating. I cleaned the whole plate. "Good meal," I told her. "Really good, thank you." "She's a fine cook," Cole said, smiling. We talked a while longer, nothing important, just small talk to fill the space. And then Cole laid out a bedroll on the floor. I lay down, closed my eyes. Sleep wouldn't come. I told myself it was just the unfamiliar place, new house, new sounds. I turned onto my side. That's when I heard it. A baby crying from the crib across the room. I waited for Cole or Ruth to get up. Neither of them moved. The crying didn't stop. I got up quietly and rocked the crib from a distance without looking inside, then lay back down. The crying kept going. And a thought started nagging at me, small and strange at first, then impossible to ignore. Why hasn't Cole shown me his kid all night? Curiosity, or something worse, pulled me up off the floor. I crossed the dark room toward the crib. The lantern had burned down to almost nothing. The crying was getting louder, closer, wrong somehow. Too loud for something so small. I reached out and pulled back the blanket. The crib was empty, my chest seized. I turned around and Cole and Ruth's bedding lay flat and untouched, empty. They were gone. There had never been anyone else in that room but me. My head started spinning. My legs went weak beneath me like the strength had just been drained out of them. My stomach turned violently, and before I could stop it, I doubled over and vomited. It wasn't food, it was blood. And in it, human fingers, human eyes. A savage pain tore through my chest, like a fist closing around my heart. I dropped to my knees, hand clutching my chest, and for one horrible second, I thought that was it. That was how it ended. Alone on a dirt floor in a house that shouldn't exist. Then just as suddenly, the pain let go. My whole body went light, weightless. I don't remember standing. I don't remember deciding to run. I just remember running, bursting out into the corn, into the dark. No idea which way was out. Just moving until my vision blurred and the world tilted sideways and went black. When I woke up, I was staring at blue sky. I sat up fast. I was lying in the middle of a cornfield, green stalks, morning light, birds somewhere far off. The memory of the night before hit me all at once, and my hands started shaking. In the distance, I could hear voices, a crowd of people. I got to my feet and started walking toward them, and the closer I got, the worse the feeling in my gut became, because I recognized the house rising up ahead of them. The same mud-walled farmhouse, the same window, the place where I'd spent the worst night of my life. I pushed through the crowd anyway. People were gathered in a loose circle around something on the ground, murmuring to each other in low voices. I shouldered my way to the front, and then something hit me. Not a person. Something deeper. Something that emptied out my whole chest in half a second. "No," I said. This can't." My own body was lying in the dirt in front of me, my eyes wide open, staring at nothing, fixed forever on whatever I'd seen in that final moment. And in them, only one thing left behind: fear. I still don't know how long I've been walking that road. I don't know how many people I've met at that fork since, how many I've smiled at, fed a warm meal, tucked into a bedroll for the night. All I know is that if you're ever driving through rural Ohio and your GPS dies somewhere past the tree line, and you see a lantern glowing at an old crossroads with no name, don't stop.
I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. I've ridden that bus line my whole life, hundreds of times. I know the drivers' names. I know which seat has the busted spring. I know which streetlight outside the depot flickers on and off like it's breathing. I know that route better than I know my own street, which is exactly why I noticed, immediately, that something was wrong that night. Not wrong like a flat tire. Not wrong like a delay. Wrong like. I got on a bus with 6 other people, and by the time we crossed the county line, only one of them was real. It was the last run out of the Millhaven Depot, the 1040, the one that cuts through Route 9 down through Danvers, Coles Corner, and out toward the interstate. If you've ever lived in a small town, you know the last bus of the night has a different feeling to it. The overhead lights buzz a little louder. The building empties out until it's just you, a couple of strangers, and the vending machine humming in the corner. I was closing up late at the hardware store. It was the week before Thanksgiving, so we'd been slammed, and I just about missed my usual bus. I came jogging into the depot right as they called it over the intercom. Last call, Route 9 service to the interstate, now boarding at Bay 3. I remember thinking the platform looked emptier than it should have. Last bus of the night usually pulls a decent crowd, people coming off late shifts, a few college kids. That night I could count the passengers on one hand. I climbed on and took my seat, second from the back, on the right, my usual spot for 11 years running. I set my bag down, then stepped back off to wait by the door, since the driver still hadn't come out to do his walk around. That's when I saw her. She was sitting alone on the bench, just outside the depot doors, half swallowed by the shadow where the lot's floodlight kept flickering. On, off, on, off. I only caught her face in the flashes. Green coat, dark lipstick, almost black in that light. And she was looking directly at me, not glancing, not people watching, at me, like she'd been waiting for me to notice. I turned around, thinking maybe someone was standing behind me and I was flattering myself. Nobody there, just empty platform. I told myself she was just tired, spaced out, staring at nothing in particular. You know how your eyes glaze over at that hour? I shook it off, grabbed a bottle of water from the machine because my mouth had gone dry. And I want to be honest with you, I don't think that was really thirst. I think that was fear, and I just didn't want to call it that yet. When I climbed back onto the bus, my stomach dropped. She was in the seat next to mine. I hadn't seen her get on. I hadn't heard the aisle creak, but there she was, green coat, hands folded in her lap, staring straight ahead like she'd been sitting there the entire time. Up close, her eyes were wrong. Too wide, too still, like she'd forgotten how blinking worked. I told myself, fine, coincidence. Buses fill up from the back sometimes. I sat down, plugged in my headphones, and stared hard out the window so I wouldn't have to look at her. The driver came down the aisle checking tickets. When he got to us, he took mine, glanced at it, handed it back, and moved on. He never asked for hers. I told myself he must have caught her earlier. People miss things at the end of a long shift. I let it go. What was I going to do? Make a scene over a stranger's bus ticket? But some small animal part of my brain filed it away as wrong, and it wouldn't stop pacing back and forth in there. Somewhere past Danvers, the driver killed the interior lights to keep the glare off the windshield. That's normal for the late run. But now the only light in that bus was the passing gleam of the road markers. And every time one swept past, I caught her reflection in the dark window glass, turned toward me, that same still, wide-eyed stare, even though when I looked at her directly, she was facing forward. I closed my eyes, told myself I'd just rest them a second. I don't know how long I was out, long enough that the music had stopped playing in my headphones. The battery must have died. And when I finally blinked awake, groggy, disoriented in that specific way you only get when you fall asleep somewhere unfamiliar, I wasn't in my seat. I was sitting in hers. My hands went cold. I looked down at myself like I could somehow confirm I was still in my own body. My seat, my actual seat, was right there, empty, a foot to my left. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember moving at all. I got up so fast I nearly went down in the aisle, and I half walked, half stumbled up toward the front of the bus, past 3 empty rows, until I dropped into a seat near an elderly man who'd been dozing against the window. I didn't care that it was a stranger's space. I just needed a body between me and her. Stop by, stop. The bus kept emptying. A woman got off at Cole's Corner. 2 guys in work jackets got off at the gas station. Stop after that. Each time the doors hissed open, I felt a flicker of hope that maybe she'd be the one stepping off. She never moved. Eventually, even the old man got off, mumbling goodnight to the driver. And just like that, it was down to 4 of us on that entire bus. The driver, up front, focused on the road. Me and her. My stop was next. The gravel turnoff just before the interstate, the one everybody in town just calls the Fork. And right as the lights of the gas station up ahead came into view, she stood up. She started walking toward the front, toward my stop. I felt that specific, sick drop in my stomach, the one where your body understands something before your mind catches up. She walked right past me and settled into the fold-down jump seat across from the driver, folding her hands again, watching the road like she was waiting for something. The bus slowed. The doors opened with that long metal sigh. She was off the steps and gone into the dark before I'd even stood up. I practically ran down the aisle. On my way past the driver, I stopped and asked him, probably too loud, too fast, "Hey, did you ever get that woman's ticket? The one who just got off?" He looked at me like I'd started speaking another language. "What woman?" "The one in the green coat. She got off right in front of me, just now." He shook his head slowly. "Buddy, nobody got off this stop but you. You feeling all right?" I stepped down onto the gravel shoulder, and the doors sighed shut behind me, and the bus pulled away, taillights shrinking down Route 9 until they were just 2 red dots and then nothing. I stood there alone at the Fork. No gas station lights. They must have closed early. No cars. Just the tree line, black and total, and the sound of cicadas working themselves into a frenzy in the ditch grass. I called my younger brother. He usually swung by with the truck when I got in this late, and he said he was 5 minutes out. So I waited on the shoulder, arms crossed against the cold, doing my best not to think about a woman who apparently didn't exist to anyone but me. That's when I heard my name, called out from somewhere behind me, back toward the tree line. I spun around. Nothing but the dark tunnel of the road and the trees pressing in close on either side, branches shifting slightly, though there was no wind that I could feel. I told myself it was nothing. A trick of the cicadas, maybe, or my own nerves playing tricks with sound. Then it came again, closer this time, and it was unmistakably my brother's voice, which made no sense at all, because that road cutting off into the trees behind me didn't lead to our house. It led out past the old grain silo, toward the cemetery on the ridge. My brother had never once in his life walked that way. Something shifted in the black mass of the tree line. Low, deliberate, like something large repositioning itself just out of the light. And then a hand landed on my shoulder from behind. I screamed, genuinely screamed, the kind that scrapes your throat raw, and spun around to find my brother standing there, truck idling behind him, headlights cutting yellow cones through the dark. "Dude, what is wrong with you? I've been honking for like a full minute." I hadn't heard a single horn. I got in that truck so fast I don't think my feet touched the running board. As we pulled out, I made the mistake of glancing back toward the tree line one last time. She was standing at the edge of the trees, green coat, that same wide, unblinking stare, and she was smiling now, really smiling, wide enough that it didn't look natural on a human face, and lifting one hand to wave, slow, almost fond, like she knew exactly when she'd see me again. I told my family everything the second I got home. My mother didn't ask a single question. She just took a handful of dried chili peppers off the kitchen shelf, circled them around my head 3 times, murmuring something under her breath, and threw them straight into the wood stove. They didn't just burn. They shrieked as they caught. A thin, high whistle that no dried pepper should make, and the whole kitchen filled with a smoke so bitter it made my eyes stream. My mother watched the flames a long moment before she finally spoke. "You rode home with something that isn't a person," she said, "and it knows your face now. I haven't taken that late bus since. I drive 20 extra minutes out of my way every single night rather than sit in that depot after dark. But sometimes, maybe once every couple of months, I'll be driving home late, headlights cutting through some empty stretch of Route 9, and I'll pass a lone figure standing at a bus stop that hasn't seen a bus in years. Green coat, waiting. I don't slow down to check if she's smiling. I already know she is." There's a specific kind of guilt that doesn't fade with time. Most fears rot away eventually. You forget them, or you explain them, or you just get tired of being scared. This one didn't do that. It's been 3 years, and I still can't order delivery food after 11 p.m. without my hands going cold. People I've told this to, coworkers, my own brother, they laugh it off. Coincidence, they say. Bad connection on the phone call, they say. But I was standing in my own kitchen. I gave him a glass of water. I watched him drink it. You can call it whatever you want. I know what I saw. And I know what I was told 15 minutes later. Let me just tell you what happened, in order, the way it happened to me. You can decide for yourself when it starts to feel wrong. My name's Daniel. My wife, Claire, and I are both in tech. She leads a project team for a firm downtown. I manage a small dev team across town. Good jobs, good pay, a nice little house we bought just outside the city, close enough to both our offices to make the commute bearable. We didn't have the normal 9 to 5 overlap most couples get. Our schedules crossed like ships, one of us always coming in as the other was heading out. That particular night, I had a project deadline that ran long. I didn't leave the office until almost 11:45. I remember being grateful I still had my own car because at that hour, nothing else was running. When I pulled into the driveway, the house was dark, locked. I'd forgotten. Claire had a business trip, flying out that same evening. So it was just me, starving, in a kitchen with nothing in it because our housekeeper had the day off and I'd completely spaced on picking anything up. I was too tired to cook even if there had been something to cook. So I did what we always did on nights like this. Pulled up the app for the one place in town that ran deliveries all night. It's a small operation, family run, the kind of place that knows your order before you finish typing it. I ordered soup and noodles. Estimated delivery, 35 minutes. I hopped in the shower while I waited. I got out with 15 minutes left on the clock, turned on the TV, waited. 35 minutes came and went. Nothing. 45 minutes. My stomach was in knots, the bad kind, hunger mixed with irritation. I called the restaurant. The manager sounded genuinely thrown when I gave him my order number. He said the driver, a kid named Sam who did most of the late night runs, had left almost an hour ago. Said the drive to my place shouldn't take more than 20 minutes, tops, and that this restaurant prided itself on being reliable, especially this late when people were counting on them. He told me he'd look into it and call me back. I hung up. 50 minutes since I'd ordered. That's when the doorbell rang. I opened the door already annoyed, ready to say something about the wait. And there he was, Sam, the same driver who usually brought our order. I recognized him immediately. We'd tipped him well enough times that he always gave a little nod when he saw our address come up. I started in on him before he could even apologize. He just said, quietly, "I'm sorry, sir," and held out the bag. I took it, set it on the table, and reached into my pocket for cash to hand him at the door. That's when I flipped on the porch light to count the bills. And that's when I actually looked at him. He was hurt. Bad. A long scrape down one forearm, angry and raw. In his forehead, there was a gash near his hairline, blood matting into his hair, dried in streaks down one side of his face. I asked what happened. He said, plainly, like it was nothing. "Small accident on the way over, sir. That's why I was late." Whatever irritation I had was gone instantly, replaced with this crawling guilt. I told him to come inside. He said no. I insisted. He still said no. I got almost stern about it, and that's when he relented, just to get a glass of water. I sat him down on the couch, brought him the water, then went and grabbed the first aid kit from the kitchen, set it down in front of him, pulled out the gauze and antiseptic. I'll admit, I've never handled the sight of blood well. Even looking at the gash on his head made my stomach turn, so I just laid the supplies out and told him where to apply them, rather than doing it myself. Small detail. I think about it a lot now. Then I went back to the kitchen and warmed up a glass of milk with turmeric, the thing my mother always made when any of us got hurt growing up, and brought it out to him. He tried to wave it off. I pushed. Told him to drink it. He needed it. "I'm fine now, sir," he said. "Really? You don't need to worry about me. I can just sit here a while, if that's all right. You go eat. I'll wait till you're done." Watching him like that, I'd honestly lost my appetite. But he brought up my food again, gently insisting, and my stomach reminded me how empty it was. Still, eating in front of an injured kid felt wrong. He asked again, kindly, almost like he needed me to. So I left him on the couch and went to the dining table. I unpacked the bag, ate, every bite of it. When I came back out, he was already standing. The milk on the table in front of him, full, untouched, not a single sip. I asked if he felt any better, told him to at least finish the milk before he left. He wouldn't hear it. "I feel a lot better now, sir. I should get going. You look tired too. Go get some rest. I'll head out." He started for the door. I stopped him, pulled a $50 out of my wallet, told him to at least get himself checked out at urgent care. He shook his head. "Thank you, sir, but I don't need it," he said. "My job was to get your order to you. That's what I wanted to finish, and I finished it. That's enough for me. The way you sat with me, asked after me, gave me water. That's more than most people would do. Nobody stops anymore, sir. Somebody gets hurt on the road and everyone just drives past. But you sat me down. You asked if I was okay. Knowing my last delivery went to someone decent, that's all I needed." Then he walked out. I stood in the doorway and watched him all the way down the driveway until the dark swallowed him up. As I was closing the door, I heard his motorcycle start. That specific rattling engine sound I recognized from every other time he dropped off our food. I went back inside thinking about what he'd said, feeling oddly proud of him, honestly. The kind of work ethic you don't see anymore. I started clearing the table. That's when my phone rang. It was the restaurant. I picked up, already forming the sentence. "Hey, your driver just..." The manager cut me off before I could finish. "Yes, sir. That's exactly why I'm calling." His voice had changed completely from the last call. Flatter, careful, the voice people use when they're about to say something they don't want to say. "We're very sorry we weren't able to complete your delivery tonight. Our driver, Sam, he was in an accident on the way to your address. Someone hit his bike and left the scene. He was pronounced dead at the scene, sir. We are very, very sorry. We were not able to get your order to you." Then the line went dead. I didn't move. The phone stayed pressed against my ear long after the call ended, the dial tone humming into the silence of my kitchen. My eyes drifted, slowly, without my permission, across the room. The empty takeout containers on the table, the drained water glass on the coffee table, and beside it, still full to the brim, untouched, the milk. And in my ears, over and over, his voice, "My job was to get your order to you. That's what I wanted to finish, and I finished it. Now I'll head out." I never found out who delivered that food to my door that night. I never asked to see security footage, never went back to that restaurant, never even told Claire the whole story until almost a year later. Some nights I convinced myself it was a mix-up, 2 drivers, a coincidence, a name I misheard. But I still have the first aid kit from that night. I never used it again. I couldn't bring myself to throw it out either. And every so often, maybe once every few months, when I'm home alone late and I order food and the doorbell rings a little too fast, before the estimated time should even be up, I don't open the door right away anymore. I just stand there, listening, waiting to hear if there's a second knock.